Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're digging into a pretty startling event, something that really caught our attention from the sources you shared. Just imagine for a second, you're out having a nice meal, maybe at a favorite spot. You know, the vibe is good. You're chatting, relaxed, maybe snapping a picture of your food for Instagram or something. Just a perfectly normal, comfortable moment. Now, picture that scene. Your table, that comfort, just instantly terrifyingly shattered, gone. Your whole world, like literally invaded by something totally unexpected. And here's the real kicker, it's all on camera. Shared instantly, millions seeing it. And that's not just a hypothetical, right? This actually happened. It's the core of our deep dive today. It involves two food influencers from Houston, Patrick Blackwood and Nina Santiago. They're at a place called QV's Culinary Creations, doing their thing, recording a review, capturing that sort of happy, vibrant energy for their followers like people do every single day. But then, just like that, the unthinkable happens. An SUV comes crashing right through the restaurant's glass wall, slams straight into the booth where they were sitting, recording. So what was this moment of, like, food enjoyment? It just turned into pure chaos instantly. You hear the glass shattering, the screams, the panic, and it's all there on the video. Raw, unfiltered. So our mission today is to really unpack this. We're drawing on all the material you sent us. We want to look at not just, what happened, the facts, but why it hits such a nerve globally. How does a local, frankly, bizarre accident blow up into this huge viral thing that millions feel connected to? What's it tell us about maybe the fragility of everyday moments and how real-time video and social media just amplify everything?
Yeah, it's that contrast, isn't it? You pointed out right at the start, it's incredibly jarring. Food reviews are usually about pleasure, comfort, enjoying the senses. It's almost escapism. They happen in places we think of as safe leisure spaces. So to have that space, that assumption of safety, just violently breached, it's maximum shock value. It hits a really primal fear because it's not just a danger, it's an invasion of a personal, comfortable zone. Unlike a crash on a highway, tragic, but often feels external. This feels like an intrusion right into your personal space. That makes it super relatable and honestly deeply unsettling.
That's a great point. It wasn't just a news headline you read later. The sources really drive this home. Viewers saw the calm, joyful energy instantly transform into pure chaos. You weren't just told about it. You basically saw it from their perspective. And that real-time aspect, that footage, that's what makes it so visceral, right? So hard to forget. You actually witnessed the terror unfold. Psychologically, that must be totally different from reading an article. How does that immediacy change how we react?
Oh, absolutely. It's about that direct, unfiltered view, witnessing it. If you think about it in terms of our digital age, it says so much about video documentation now. A written report gives you facts, okay, but the video, it gives you the raw emotion, the whiplash from safety to danger, the sheer randomness. It's like looking directly into someone else's shock. And because eating out is so, almost universal, the relatability is off the charts. It forces you, maybe unconsciously, to ask that question. Wow, what if I was sitting there? What if that was my meal, my normal moment? That personal connection amplified by seeing it, it's incredibly impactful. Makes you really think.
You've nailed it there. It wasn't some distant thing. It felt like it could be us doing something we do all the time, and bam, life turns upside down. It's a very, intimate kind of fear. Even though it's public, the visual is just undeniable. Millions saw it and immediately wondered, what happened? How? And, when something this dramatic happens, speculation runs wild, doesn't it? So let's get into what actually caused it, because your mind jumps to worst case scenarios, right? Was it deliberate? Something sinister?
That's totally natural. Our brains kind of search for big reasons for big events, especially something so disruptive. You think, okay, malice, a deliberate act, maybe someone driving recklessly, impaired. But what the authorities found, it simplifies it, but also makes it almost more complex in a way. The crash, believe it or not, wasn't intentional at all. It was a tragically simple mistake, just devastating. The driver was at a nearby event and accidentally left the SUV in gear instead of park. It sounds so mundane, almost anticlimactic, but the consequences, obviously huge.
Wow. So not a police chase, not an attack, not drunk driving. The sources were quite clear. No alcohol or drugs were involved. Just a misstep, a moment of inattention with massive, very public results. It really highlights that vulnerability isn't always about, big evil forces. Sometimes it's just a tiny error.
Exactly. And the driver, reportedly shaken, but okay, was fully cooperative with the police. That pretty much cemented it as an accident, not a crime, which adds another layer, right? It wasn't malicious, just human error that sent a vehicle through a wall. And what's really incredible, frankly, despite how violent it looked, how forceful. The influencers and others involved only had minor injuries. Nobody died, which is astonishing given what could have happened. It could have been so much worse. Really shows how unpredictable these things are. The line between disaster and near miss can be razor thin.
Just incredible look, really. 1 minute you're eating, the next you're dodging an SUV. And the fact that it was such a simple error, it almost makes it creepier because it reminds you how thin that veneer of safety sometimes feels, one little lapse. But what's truly remarkable, maybe, is how fast this local story went global. That's one of the most fascinating parts for me. How does something so specific, so local, become a worldwide talking point? What are the mechanics there?
Well, the aftermath is a perfect case study in the power of social media today. It's instant. It's huge. When that footage hit, it just exploded. YouTube, TikTok, millions of views in like days. And what's really interesting on TikTok, creators didn't just share it. They amplified it. They re-narrated it. You saw slow-down versions, dramatic reaction videos, even kind of bizarrely, parts of it becoming memes. This quick collective processing, it's not just sharing, it's active reinterpretation. TikTok's algorithm loves short, punchy clips, user reactions, so it pushed these edits everywhere. It creates this feedback loop. Engagement drives visibility. It almost gamifies how we process trauma in a weird way, turns an incident into this shared cultural thing we all dissect.
That is wild, turning something terrifying into a meme. But I guess that's just how social media works now, right? It processes everything. It's immediate, visceral reaction, but also, reinterpretation, recontextualizing, sometimes maybe even making light of it as a way to cope. And it wasn't only the crash video going viral, was it? The influencers themselves, their pages lit up too.
Oh, absolutely. On Instagram, on X, Twitter, their feeds were just flooded. Messages of relief, support, comments like, "So glad you're okay. That could have been awful." Just dominated. So it shows that other side of social media too. It's a platform for viral content, sure, but also for community, for empathy. People processing shock together, connecting directly with the people involved. And what's really telling about its universal appeal? This story reached way beyond the U.S. news outlets like the Times of India, India Times. They picked it up. That shows real global resonance. It wasn't just a Houston story. It's struck a chord everywhere, cross cultures, borders.
That global reach, that's incredibly significant. It tells us this wasn't just about influencers or American restaurants. It tapped into something deeper, that feeling of fragility in our everyday lives, maybe, and the shock of seeing it so exposed. It's like the whole world is becoming this giant, unedited reality show sometimes. This deep dive really underscores how quickly a personal, scary moment turns into a shared digital spectacle, echoing across continents, bypassing old gatekeepers.
Definitely connects to that universal relatability, but maybe even deeper. Like even if you're watching from India or anywhere else, you get the concept of enjoying a meal out. And you get the sheer shock of that being violently interrupted by sheer chance. The video kind of strips away language barriers, cultural details. The core message becomes the raw human experience. Danger, survival, safety, violated. It just cuts through the noise and speaks to something shared. That's why it resonates so widely.
Okay, so let's try and pull these threads together a bit. What we've really looked at today is, a wild story. 2 food influencers, Patrick Blackwood, Nina Santiago, capturing what should have been just a nice meal out, only to have it completely upended by an SUV crashing right in. It really is that stark contrast, isn't it? The total normalcy of a food review slammed against sudden life-threatening danger.
Indeed. And the real power of it, I think, comes from seeing it happen so viscerally, in real time, that makes it instantly relatable. Anyone who's ever eaten in a restaurant thinks, that could be me. And the cause, that simple accidental mistake by the driver, it almost makes it more unsettling. It highlights how easily things can go wrong, even without any bad intentions.
Right. And then you have the aftermath. That just explosive global spread of the video across YouTube's, TikTok, Instagram, X, even landing in international news.
Yep.
It's a perfect example of how our connected world just instantly grabs, reinterprets, and amplifies these moments, turns a local accident into a global talking point overnight, basically.
Yeah. And ultimately, the core takeaway from this whole incident is pretty profound, I think. It's that our normal moments, they can be incredibly fragile. This story wasn't really about fame or politics or anything like that. It was just about ordinary people suddenly facing extraordinary danger. While millions watched and reacted, there's a very stark, very visceral reminder of life's unpredictability, how quickly safety can vanish.
So maybe as you go about your day, perhaps enjoying your own next meal out or just doing your routine, maybe pause and think about this. What does it really mean for us? when our most ordinary, even private moments, the ones we might share carefully or not at all, can instantly become these huge public spectacles, shared, analyzed, reacted to by millions globally. How does that change how we think about safety, about shared experience online, about just
Right.
living our lives in this connected world? It's definitely something to chew on, isn't it?